Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 112. I hope that you are all well. I have spent most of today lied on the couch after 24 hours of being full of germs, which has scuppered my plans to be super productive today. But anyway, I've put a night shift in, and I was actually quite grateful for it. So you might have seen that I did a little post on my Instagram this morning about why I was grateful for waking up full of germs, and it's because when you can find gratitude even in undesirable circumstances, you are practicing not being reactive to the 3D. So I started my day by writing down the reasons that I was grateful for my lovely little germs. And the main one was that it reminded me to be grateful for my health every day, because generally I enjoy very good health, unlike most people, because I wake up usually feeling pretty well pretty much every day. I often take that for granted. And so there is nothing like a blocked nose and a sore throat to remind you that health is the real wealth that we should all be seeking, because without it, you cannot enjoy any of the other amazing things that you are creating. Anyway, this episode is not about being grateful for good health. I just thought I'd share that little insight with you as a quick reminder to take a second out of your day to appreciate your health too today. So, this week, I want to talk to you about something that I know every single person who is listening will know something about, and that is affirmations. Now, affirmations are probably one of the first things that you hear about when you are introduced to manifestation. They're used in so many different ways, and I'll be really honest with you, until very recently, I didn't rate them, guys. Did not rate them. They're not a tool that I have used often for manifestation in the past. And the reason for that is I just didn't feel like they worked very well for me. And that's why I've never done an episode on them in the past. But I've recently had a big change of heart around affirmations. And so I'm really focused at the minute on utilising them in my own life. So the reason that people often find that affirmations are not effective for manifestation is that we all have a bullshit filter, which means that when you say something that is currently not true for you in your 3D reality, your bullshit filter, which is looking around with your five senses, is rejecting it. So today, what I want to do is share a few ways that you can adjust the way that you use your affirmations to really utilise them for manifesting your desires. So what you need to remember as I'm talking about this is that there are two ways that you rewire your subconscious mind. And those two ways are emotional impact and repetition. They're the two ways that the subconscious gets rewired, and that's always what we're trying to do when we're manifesting, because everything's coming from our subconscious. Now, if you like to use visualization, for example, that really lends itself to emotional impact, because by building that really clear vision, you're able to step into that version of that reality and you're experiencing it through the lens of your imagination, where you're able to imagine what things would be like with your five senses, even though you're not experiencing it in the 3D. And therefore, it makes it easier to connect to that vision emotionally. Whereas if you like to use affirmations, then that lends itself much more to repetition, in my opinion, because it's a bit more difficult to connect emotionally with a sentence that you're saying than it is a vision, but you're able to repeat it much more regularly than you could perhaps by like visualizing a scene. So by using a combination of tools that create opportunities to rewire your subconscious mind in both of those ways, through emotional impact and also through repetition, then I suppose you're manifesting a bit more efficiently. And I want to make it very clear to you that you do not need to use any tool if you don't want to. They are just that. Manifestation is not reliant on you using affirmations or you using visualization or you using EFT tapping or any other tool that you'll be familiar with. It's not reliant on that. They are just tools which help you to accept a new set of beliefs, which in turn is what creates your new reality. It's not necessary for you to be doing all of these things like a tick list, and that's often what you feel like, especially when you're new to the manifestation world. You feel like you've got this big tick list of things that you're supposed to be doing every day. But until you can just decide that something is true for you, something new, these tools can be useful. So visualization, affirmations, whatever tool you like, they can be useful when you use them well. Especially if you're still getting used to the idea that you are manifesting all the time anyway, and you're in the process of learning to do it more consciously, I would recommend using some of these tools. So the subconscious is running the show. Make no mistake about that. It is running the show of your life through the programming that's currently installed on it. And it is incredibly powerful. And for the most part, people have no idea what they are even programmed with. They don't know what they believe. They're not consciously aware of it. And so they just go blindly through life wondering why they keep experiencing the same old shit. And if you are in my world and you're listening to this podcast, fear not, because you are not those people. You are the ones who are choosing your programming. So although the subconscious is very, very powerful, it's not very smart at all. And it doesn't have a set of eyes to look around and check what's going on in your 3D reality. It can't distinguish between 3D reality and imagination, or you could call that your 5D reality. It doesn't have access to any of that. And the advantage of that is that if you set new programming into it through either emotional impact, such as visualizing yourself in that end result, or repeatedly affirming a new sentence that supports your desires, it will accept that programming and it will eventually begin to run that program automatically for you. And that's where you'll really start to see results. But you've got to remember that most of your subconscious programming has been there for a very long time. We start to really form our identity and our subconscious beliefs around the age of 8, which for a lot of us is a very long time ago. So it can be very deeply ingrained, and like anything that is deep rooted, changing it will require you to be persistent. That is an important thing to understand. You have to be persistent, and that's the part that only you can do. Now, if you are a Neville Goddard fan, and if you're not, get to know him, but you'll know the power of the words I am. So that's why you hear a lot of affirmations starting with I am. And it's because when you say I am, you're declaring that you just are, you're existing. That's your consciousness, that your awareness. And anything that you add to that then starts to build your identity, and that identity has a certain set of beliefs and that aligns with a certain set of experiences. So if you are saying things like, I am skint, I am fat, I am tired, I am stupid, and anything like that, you are creating negative experiences. So you will be left feeling unhealthy, you'll feel in lack, you'll have no energy, you'll feel like you're not able to accomplish things that you'd like to do because you're affirming those things to be true, and that has to be reflected. So you've got to be really careful when you're using those words because they've got a lot of power, and your reality in the 3D is a direct reflection of what you believe to be true. And those truths come from the statements that you make when you say, I am, add in the blank there. So let's talk then about a few ways that you can use affirmations, and you can try these out and see what feels best to you, because they're all different things that you can try. So first up, I've got a really good suggestion that I heard in another podcast. And that was one that I absolutely adore, called Mindset Mentor by Rob Dial. So shout out to Rob Dial for this first idea, because I really like it and I've been trying it this week. So he talks about identifying the one dominant thought that isn't serving you. And I really like this idea, because most of us, although we've got lots of, we'd call them limiting beliefs, there'll be one that is a little bit more limiting and quite a bit louder than all the others. And it's the one that comes up over and over and over, the one that prevents you from taking action towards your desires, because it's playing just a little bit too loudly. So when you've identified that one thought, what he suggested was rewriting it to one that is actually true or could be true. Controversial, Rob. I like it. But also one that supports the vision. So I'll give you an example. If your belief was, I am unhealthy and I will always be out of shape, and that's the dominant belief that you've identified that comes up, and it stops you from doing certain things, and it's very limiting and it's louder than all the others, then the affirmation, rather than being something like the absolute opposite, for example, I'm an athlete with a six-pack, which would be very quickly rejected by the bullshit filter, it'd be something more believable for your subconscious. So it'd be something like, I am proud that I respect my body and become healthier each day. It can get on board with that. It might not necessarily be completely true, but it's going to trigger your subconscious less than saying something that's very untrue for you in the 3D, if that makes sense. So he suggested just creating this one new affirmation that could be true right now. And then he also said to buy some mala beads. Now, if you don't know what mala beads are, they're a necklace which has got 108 beads, and they've got like one bigger bead underneath it so you can identify when you've got around the loop. And they're usually used for chanting mantras, and you can get them in any witchy shop. So you take the mala beads each day in the morning or before bed, and you repeat that one affirmation just 108 times, and then that's it, you go about your day. And he'd suggested that some of his clients try this for 7 days, and they had already reported after just a week of doing that very simple task that doesn't take more than 5 minutes, experiencing big shifts in their automatic thoughts, which are the ones that, you know, your subconscious is generating, because eventually it will take over. So guess who's ordered some mala beads? It's me, bitch. It's me. Anyway, that's the first one that I've got for you to try. So rewriting, finding your most dominant thought that's limiting and rewriting it for one that's not exactly the opposite, but one that's in the direction of where you'd like to go but could be true, and repeating it 108 times using mala beads. So this next one is one that lots of people use, and until this week has never really resonated with me. It's very, very popular in like law of assumption content, and it's not something that I've done a lot of, which is ironic as I teach law of assumption. But I have been trying it this week, and it's called robotic affirming. And I think in the past for me, when I've used affirmations, it's been kind of much earlier on in my awareness of manifestation. And I'd been trying really hard to feel the emotion of those affirmations, and I couldn't, because I was just saying this sentence that wasn't strictly true. But this way does actually make a lot of sense. So because of that bullshit feature that we've all got, when you affirm something that isn't yet true in the 3D, like, for example, something that's the opposite of what you're experiencing, or the dominant thought that you're having. So it could be like the six-pack one, or say, I'll take an example of mine. Let's say that the affirmation I'd chosen was, I'm number one in the podcast charts. So my bullshit filter, when I say that, says, no, you're not, because I'm not. I'm in the 3D reality, I'm not number one in the podcast charts. But by robotically affirming that, eventually that bullshit filter will relent and it will allow it to seep in almost like a sieve. You're brainwashing yourself with a new belief by saying it so regularly. Now, the good thing about robotic affirming is that you don't have to believe it initially for it to still be really effective. You don't have to feel positive emotions when you're saying it. You are literally just saying it robotically over and over and over and over again until it sinks in, which it will do because you're using repetition. So you can do this at random times throughout the day. So you can just consciously be choosing to think that thought over and over again, or you could say that thought. Or if you feel like you're going to forget to do that, which I felt like I was, you can set little triggers for it. So for example, you can have that affirmation going on in your head while you're brushing your teeth, or while you're showering, or while you're vacuuming your carpets, or while you're washing the pots, or while you're walking on the treadmill, something that doesn't take any brain power, something that you're just doing automatically. You can tie it into something that you do repeatedly and making sure that it's something that you do daily, and you're just saying it over and over and over and over again. And there's lots of things online that you can read about robotic affirming and the success people have with it. It's a bit boring, I can't lie, it's boring, but it will work because it's repetition, and that's one of the two ways that you reprogram your subconscious mind. So have a go at that one. Now, a tool that I could not be without, that I have been using for a long time now, is subliminals. And recently I've been using sleep hypnosis tapes, which are slightly different to subliminals because you can actually hear the person speaking, whereas a subliminal, it's hidden beneath a track. But when you are asleep, or when you're falling asleep, or when you're just waking up from a sleep, your subconscious mind is so much more open. You're operating on a completely different brainwave frequency to when you are consciously aware throughout your day. And you're soaking in messages around you like a fucking sponge, which is why I am horrified when I hear people saying that they fall asleep while they're watching the telly or the news. Oh my God, don't do that, babe. No, thank you, because you're soaking all of that straight into your subconscious. And for one, you don't know what's going to come on the telly while you're sleeping. And if it's the news, it's just plain bad. So don't do that. But using your sleep to retrain your subconscious using subliminals and sleep hypnosis tracks is a really good idea. And there's lots of them on YouTube. I also make them for my members in the Empire State membership each month. So come and join us. I've just uploaded a new 8-hour one with 50 affirmations in there. That's all about creating like magnetic goddess energy in there. I really, really rate subliminals. And again, when you listen to subliminals, what you'll find is that you see people parrot back to you whatever affirmations you're listening to. It's a no extra effort thing. You might as well be using it. So one of the tracks that I listen to, for example, has got an affirmation saying everything I touch turns to gold. And about a month ago, within a couple of days of listening to it, I'd literally been using it for like 2 nights. I went out for a meal with my friend Hayden, and he said to me in conversation, and he won't even have noticed saying it because it was just in part of the conversation, but he said something, and he said, everything you touch turns to gold. And it stuck in my head for some reason, like it stood out to me. And it was only that night when I went to play it again that I read through the affirmation list and saw that it was on there. So automatically my subconscious had kind of highlighted that he'd said that because I'd been listening to it and I didn't even know I'd been listening to that. So yeah, crazy shit. I am here for it. And the final suggestion, which is my favourite, I think, is one that I discovered almost by accident one day in the car, but one that I use very often now. Now, this is what is sort of like a rampage. Is it a rampage or a rampage? A rampage. Rampage. I'm going for rampage. It's a rampage of... When you say a word too many times, it just sounds fucking weird. A rampage. Rampage of affirmations. And you can either use the same one over and over again, or you can say whatever comes up in the moment that supports the vision. But for this one, what you do is you put on some music, ideally in your car, and you put it on loud as fuck, like so loud that when you speak out loud, you can't hear your own voice. And I like to put on specific types of music that get me into this particular state where I almost feel like I'm listening to like a subliminal. So this isn't a Taylor Swift kind of vibe for me. In fact, nothing's a Taylor Swift kind of vibe for me. I'm so sorry, Taylor. Sorry to all you Swifties. But it's more like trance music, something that just allows you to get into the zone. I'm finding it difficult to explain what I mean, but I hope that you know what I mean. So one that I personally use for this, which you could try by all means, is some music by Anima, and it's spelt Anyma, and it's very trippy, and it really does the trick for this method. So you switch the music on, even better if you're in the car because you're focused on driving, which is like letting things slip into the subconscious easier because your conscious mind is distracted. And you say the affirmations beneath the music. This is very effective for me. And I find that it does two things. It very quickly shifts my energy. If I'm in a bit of a neggy vibe, and I need to get out of it, it alters my experience almost immediately. And I'll give you a real life example of how it does that. So a few months ago, I was going out for a drink with my best mate, Soph, and a fella who I'm very close to too, and they were already pissed, right? They'd been out for a few hours with some other people, some of the neighbours, and I was sober, like, stone cold sober, and I wasn't feeling it, but I knew I wanted to go out. You know when you just know that you're going to have to catch up with a load of drunks and you can't find the right outfit and you're feeling a bit stressed out, you're just not in the right frame of mind. But I knew I wanted to go out because this girl that never has a babysitter, so a night out with her is a very rare occasion. So I blasted my music, Anima, on top volume in the car. And I just started to affirm everything that I wanted to experience that night. Now, if you haven't already gathered by now, I like to be centre stage. This is a perfect job for me because I get to talk. Nobody can interrupt me. There is no denying that as much as I'd like to be a wallflower, I'm not. I like to be in the spotlight. I enjoy the attention. So judge me if you like, but that is just who I am. And so I was saying things to get me in the zone, to get me like hyped up for this night out. Things like, everyone is so happy to see me. I am everyone's favourite person. Everyone treats me like a celebrity. Everyone compliments my outfit. I look so good. I make everyone laugh. My energy is magnetic. Everyone tries to buy me drinks. Everyone wants to sit next to me. Everyone is fighting to get my attention, and things like that suggested that I was going to be the star of this night out show. So sometimes when I record this podcast, I feel like I overshare. But I like to be real with you. And this is the real me, an attention whore. So anyway, I drove to this bar and I walked in on my own, and it was literally like I was famous. Everyone come over, hugging me, people I've not seen for ages. Everyone was making conversation. Some lad who was my mate's friend asked me to sit on his knee under his breath, and I heard him. And then I said I heard that, and it was this like whole funny little situation where his mate thought it was hilarious that I'd called him out, and he jumped up and come to sit with me, and we were all laughing at it together. And this other guy is telling me how hilarious I am, They were almost arguing over who was buying me a drink. Then this random woman comes up to me and tells me how much she absolutely loved my skirt, which was a shit skirt, guys. It was a shit skirt. And she loved it, and how her and all her friends listened to like the words she was saying. Her and all her friends had just been watching me and saying how amazing I looked, and she felt like I was a magnet and that she had to come over and speak to me. And then my best mate's fella came over and hugged me, and he was like, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so happy that you're here. And then he'd come over to me later and said, Soph, you are my favourite person. You're my favourite person. My best mate, who is the least affectionate woman you have ever met in your life, started crying and telling me how much she loves me. And it was basically just a very, very clear reflection of everything that I had specifically said in my affirmation rampage to the music in the car. And it happened like that. Like, it was literally within half an hour of doing that, I was in that bar, and every single thing that I said was reflected back to me because I'd said it. And I suppose in that case, you're kind of combining the emotional impact and the repetition, because you're saying these things, but you're also visualizing these things happening as you're saying them. So, and it goes with the music, which lifts the vibe. So it's kind of probably very impactful because you're combining those two things in one. But honestly, try it. It is fucking wild. So that's what I have for you this week. I hope that you've enjoyed this episode and that you will go and try some of the affirmation methods that I've shared with you, rather than just reading them out loud from your journal once a day, which is what most people do, and in my opinion is going to do absolutely fuck all. So let me know how you get on. Let me know which ones you prefer, which you've tried, by tagging me in your Instagram stories at Empower State, or you can come and post them in the private Facebook group, which is called Empower State Community, and come and join us in the membership. We've got monthly option to join or annual with one-to-one, and I am currently just planning our August masterclass, which will be on the 15th of August this month. So come and join us. Okay, have a fantastic week, and I will speak to you all soon. See you later.